Alrighty. Drugs.God.Music number 19.
Yeah,
And
no kidding.
we've got two guests. I guess one in the middle is the freaky goddess. And then the one beside me is my buddy Farron, who is, I would say, an expert psychonaut in his own ways and spirituality. And we're good friends. And in particular, he is interested in a fairly obscure legal substance called the sun opener.
Sun opener, yeah.
Which I've never done, but he has. So we are going to talk about that for a little while. That's the intro. Now we can go forward.
Wait, tell us the various names.
So, the sun opener, it's got its taxonomical name, which is Heimia Salicifolia, and it's also known as Sinicuichi. A lot of people kind of have a hard time pronouncing it. For a long time, I used to call it Sinicuichi and Heimia Salicifolia, but I've learned how to pronounce those correctly. It's Sinicuichi and Heimia Salicifolia, and I just call it endearingly the sun opener.
What language is Sinicuichi?
It's Mexican. So it's got a few other common names. Like we already mentioned, the sun opener. It's also known as the herb of the sun, herb of the spirits, and also it's also known as the herb of Saint Francis.
Oh, no kidding. Is it related to St. John's wort at all? Do you know that?
I don't think so. It's more closely related to the pomegranate, which is in the loosestrife family, the Lithoraceae family.
Okay. Cool.
And you can find it in Texas, Mexico, all the way down to Brazil and South America.
All right. Okay. Cool. Tropical?
Yeah. It likes highland areas that are warm and dry.
I'll be right
and
back.
It's pretty drought resistant. That's one of its notable adaptations. Is it's really resistant to drought.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Great. Yeah. I can't wait to hear. You want to just kind of start off wherever you are starting to start off.
What was that? You kind of trailed off there.
Oh, sorry. I think it's windy. I said I'm excited to hear, and you want to just start off wherever you're excited to start off?
Sure. I could get a little bit into a little bit about the plant and its historical and cultural background. So it usually grows up to about 3 meters tall, and it's got willow-like leaves that are like 1 to 2 inches. And it's got these beautiful yellow flowers that have 6 petals. And the leaves, sometimes they're paired, sometimes they're variably like arranged alternate opposite or whorled on the stems. And the parts that people actually use in teas and such and extracts is the leaves and the stems. The roots don't actually have any of the alkaloid that people use. So it's been used by indigenous cultures, Mexico and South America, for both spiritual and medicinal properties. There's an iconic statue, and I hope I say this right. It's the Aztec god Xochipilli, and he actually has the bud of the sun opener on his lower back, and then he has the flower on his shin, and it's linked to spring and desire, because the flowers bloom in the spring.
And is the flowers what you use to get the alkaloids?
No, you use the stems and the leaves.
Okay,
I'm sure you could probably use the flowers, but normally I've only ordered the stuff online, and they usually just gives you the stems and the leaves.
Gotcha.
I would love to have try some of the flower essence extracts that you can sometimes get. They use it in folk medicine for treating wounds, infections, digestive health, and also fever as well as anxiety. It's associated with the solar energy and enlightenment, and it's reflected in its spiritual practices because its perceived ability to connect users with both ancestral and subconscious memories. And we'll get a little bit more into that. It was written in a book called The Blue Indians by Hans Heinz, and they called it a magical drink that causes oblivion, which I found kind of interesting.
Oblivion.
Yeah. So I'll kind of dive into its effects and the experiences. It's most notably known for its auditory hallucinations or changes. You can hear distant sounds, whispers. Sometimes you hear full-on people talking. It definitely changes the way you hear things. Sometimes you hear bells, or like I said, voices, distant sounds. My personal experience, I heard on a really high dose. It basically sounded like everything was playing through a metal church pipe organ.
Huh.
And I also experienced perfect pitches. Even though my friends at the time said no, you're not at perfect pitch right now. So it also has visual alterations. What most commonly happens is you get either a yellowish brightening tint. Sometimes you also get purple, blue, and green. It tends to be a little bit more rare that people see these other colors, or sometimes even the yellow tint. Some people have talked about getting tunnel vision and altered spatial perception. And then of course the physical sensations are what it's most known for. Is you might feel a little euphoric, perhaps even a little dizzy. It causes your blood vessels to vasodilate, and sometimes that'll also, because your veins are so vasodilated, you'll actually start to feel a little cold and get chills and shivers. As far as the cognitive and spiritual qualities of it, there's enhanced recall of long-term memories, and prenatal memories, and ancestral memories. It's very similar to accessing a hypnagogic state. That's when you're kind of going to sleep, and for me it's always been this little flicker of kind of as you're falling asleep, and then you get the visions. Sometimes you start to hear voices and stuff like that.
Really?
As you fall asleep.
Yeah, right. And it is similar to that kind of state.
Yeah, it's similar to that.
And what other medicine, or is there one that you might compare it to the closest?
Psychedelic?
Yeah, or anything. But I meant it in terms of the experience.
I don't know. I it's on the come up. It's a little bit like a light mushroom trip. I don't know. It doesn't really compare very well though. But it's like the euphoria you get there, but maybe not as giddy. You're laughing your butt off. It's very chill. In low doses, it's a lot like taking breaking off half an aspirin, and it'll make you feel pretty good.
Huh. Yeah, you've mentioned that you're into microdosing.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, we've got some right here, and he just pinched some off and just a little bit, right?
And shoot it, yeah.
What did you say about aspirin?
Yeah, it has, when you do it in low doses, it has a lot of effect, kind of like aspirin. And I actually use it instead of, going for that bottle of aspirin. I just get a tincture.
Is aspirin for you just an analgesic, or are you saying it does something else?
So if I'm like sick or I have a slight headache or something like that, I'll go I'll go for the sun opener instead of the aspirin.
No, that's funny. I was like, damn, he uses aspirin as a psychedelic. I gotta hear this.
Yeah, I'm glad you asked, because that occurred to me too, actually.
I was like, shit, what aspirin you taking?
Yeah, totally.
So what as you take more and more Sinicuichi, Sinicuichi, as you raise your dosages, is there kind of like, you said hypnagogic, is that kind of like the ultimate realm? You just go more strongly in that direction as you take more? Yeah.
Yeah, as you take more, you'll start to get like the dimming of your vision, and you'll get that quality of where sounds will sound a little bit different. Distant sounds you'll kind of pick up a little bit more. You'll feel euphoric, and I don't know, I really like listening to music when I would do it, and I found it very, very enjoyable, kind of like I used to with cannabis. Speaking of cannabis, I think it pairs very well with cannabis. It's one of those herbs that pairs well. And yeah.
Let's see. I also want to ask you. On higher dosages, or could you take a high enough dosage that it still feels good, that you would want to be sitting or laying down, or is moving around kind of always an option?
It really depends. If you take too much, you'll be in pain.
Really?
Yeah. Well, so when I first worked with this plant, I first took 5 grams of it. I didn't notice anything. It was before I was really working with plants. I was basically at that time just kind of chasing legal highs and really wanting to trip out. I'd taken morning glories and amanitas.
You look like a dude who wants to trip out.
And so yeah, I took that 5 grams. I didn't really feel anything. So then I decided, well, I'm gonna take 1 gram per 10 pounds of my body weight.
Okay.
And so I ended up taking, almost 28 grams I made into a tea. And I did it in the traditional preparation of the tea, where you put it out in the sun and let it infuse with the knowledge of the sun. And I think I actually put it out for 2 days, and it ended up fermenting a little bit,
Which is what you want, right?
Yeah. Supposedly, when you ferment it, it breaks down some of the things that add some of the more harsher effects. Except for it didn't for me, I guess, because I took way too much. But the come up was very enjoyable. The first 3 hours were absolutely sublime. I really enjoyed it. The biggest thing was that my vision darkened. Things took on kind of a blue hue, and eventually it just sounded like I was living inside of a metal church organ. Like everything I heard just had that tinny quality to it, and it was just absolutely beautiful. everything had like this perfect pitch to it. And even when I would like talk, like it just sounded so melodic. it was
like
a very interesting and strange experience. And I remember like playing with it, and I would do like the scales where like you go, and like I would hear the different tones in there. Of course, my friends were like, "Yeah, that's not happening, dude." But I'm like, well, that's what I hear, and like you guys sound like you're freaking singing. So.
Cool. That's super cool.
But then like 4 hours, I started to get some of the effects. I started feeling really cold. I felt my joints getting really painful, like to move. So kind of like what you were talking about there. If you take too much, your joints will hurt. And then it started to get even more intense. The vasodilation effects started happening, and basically what I understand, like my capillaries on my skin were opening up, and so the lightest touch on my skin was super painful. And I had to have my wife help me to the bed that night. It probably took me like 5 minutes just to walk to bed, and it was probably only like, I don't know, 12 steps to my bedroom.
Wow, crazy.
And I remember waking up in the middle of the night. I don't know, it was probably 6-8 hours in, and I was just like, oh, I need to like turn over or something. And it took me 5 minutes to turn over in bed. My wife was like, maybe we should take you to the hospital. I'm like, no, I don't. I didn't want to figure out how to explain all that.
Like you took, what? Wait, what?
Yeah. And
they're like, we know how to deal with meth. Did you take meth?
Yeah, right.
We can help you with that.
Yeah, and so I woke up in that morning, and I was feeling a little bit better. I think I woke up like 12 hours later into the trip, and I got up to go to the shower. My normal hot, like I never really take hot showers, but like even the heat that I normally took it at was way too much, so I had to basically turn the water down to lukewarm. Otherwise, it just felt like it was burning my skin.
Wow, wild.
And it took about a full 48 hours before I kind of returned back to baseline. And what the interesting thing about that experience is that it made me realize the importance of patience, respect, and mindfulness when engaging with entheogens and psychedelics.
Yeah. Right.
And it took me quite a few years to reintegrate that experience. It was kind of an ongoing process.
Wow.
When did you do it next?
It was quite a few years. So that was up when I was living in Fairbanks, Alaska. And it was probably about 4 or 5 years later before I even get re-engaged with it.
Yeah.
And I would take a lot less dose, and I'd often pair it with cannabis. I learned to pair a lot of things with cannabis and figure out how things kind of alter the experience.
You're in good company for that strategy.
But yeah, that whole experience was kind of like my initiation with that plant, and it had a lot to teach me.
Yeah, wow. Huh. It's interesting to consider the physiological effects based on the name, because, or like the way it's understood culturally, like in folk medicine. I just keep thinking, what about sun opener equals vasodilation? Is that what happens when you're in the sun? Anyway, but...
you mean, why would there... That's an interesting...
Yeah.
That's interesting. So you're saying, like, now that we know the chemistry of how it works, how does that connect to the mythology?
Yeah, but even whoever was using it in a folk medicine knew what it was doing to people and specifically gave it that name for that effect. That's how it would have gotten the name. So, however they understood the effect, I guess I'm calling it vasodilation because you did. But anyway, we don't have to answer that. But I just, I know, or I've been led to believe. I don't think I've actually looked it up myself, but that eating psychedelic mushrooms will make your skin more photosensitive. And of course, mushrooms grow in the shade away from the sun. And so it kind of imparts that same quality to your own body. I guess that's the analogy I'm making. So anyway, but did you?
Oh, I was just gonna say it very much reminds me of, like, if you were to, like, lay out in the sun and how, like, your body would feel just laying, like, sun tanning. You get that relaxed feeling. That I would think that your blood vessels also dilate because they're trying to keep you cool.
Yeah, that makes sense. Were you in the sun when you were on that dose?
No, I was in a basement. There's a little efficiency.
Right.
Yeah. The plant might not like that.
That's interesting.
I did have a little window there, and then, like, the day after, I did notice that, like, the sun coming in to the basement was a little more yellow than usual.
So, you're saying your experience like that first time was very detailed and good, but I'm wondering, in general, it sounds like this it's psychedelic and it's interesting and it's potentially therapeutic, but it doesn't sound like something that you do for peak experiences. It gets too dangerous at that dosage. Would I be right in saying that?
It depends on how much you want to
Risk,
feeling like you're a 1,000-year-old man, I guess. As I saw on one Arrowwood trip. Basically, like, yeah, your joints will hurt, and depending on how much you have that vasodilation going on, you might experience the skin sensitivity. Allodynia, I think, is what they call it.
Can you take enough to get the peak experience you had on that massive trip, but just that's as far as you go? Like, what would that dosage be?
Well, most people say between 20 and 25, but I haven't really gone back to those peak experiences like that.
Okay.
I've done more of these subtle experiences with them ever since.
So for you, 28 grams was too much, but people are saying 20 to 25. Did you arbitrarily decide 10 grams per pound?
Yeah.
Or whatever.
A gram per 10 pounds.
Gram a pound, yeah.
Yeah, I was just like, this is what I'm going to try. That was my first time.
Guess you were in the ballpark, but you overshot it.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, you went horizontal.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. I just didn't understand now it looks like we're all in your car. Because when you went horizontal, your screen, like, took over, but there's a green screen effect, so it's got little holes, and it looks like we were in the back seat. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. How does cannabis change it?
So I've always noticed that the way cannabis changes is that there's a subtle auditory perception. It feels a little bit more chillaxed. Like, it just umps it, makes it a little bit stronger.
Okay.
And sometimes I also noticed that, like, I'd hear these strange whispers and stuff like that.
So auditory hallucinations change.
Yeah, yeah.
Is there you know how with visual hallucinations, there's kind of like categories of how things are moving. Is there like a map, as it were, for sound effects through this medicine?
I'm not really sure.
Oh, okay. I mean, or no, I don't mean officially. Just in your experience, would you say that there's like particular different ways things change, or is it just kind of random? Auditory.
Um, well, definitely it seems like it'll become like this tunnely perfect pitch. Uh, it might even sound like metallic.
Oh, okay. So it has a similar effect each time.
Yeah, and there's
Okay.
there's actually like there's this Daft Punk song. I forget the particular song, but it's like about a minute in to like 2 minutes, and they're starting to like really start compressing the sound. And just before it has the compression sound, like it starts tinning with those kind of like what I said, the metal church organ sound. And it just that harmonic resonance of that.
Almost sounds like ring modulator and auto tune simultaneously. If you've heard a ring modulator.
Actually, yeah. I do know. That kind of is what he's describing, but I can't imagine Farron knows what that means. But our audience might. Hayes might, if he's here. Yeah. So a ring modulator basically sounds robotic, and a auto tune, when it ramped up, makes it sound like you're singing when you're talking, because it modifies all of the pitches and locks them in to traditional pitches.
Yeah,
You hear it all the time.
that sounds about right.
I'll be back.
Maybe that would be the musical expression of your trip. Yeah, cool. Do you have any recommendations on where to buy them?
I always just find botanical stores online.
Okay. Wherever.
Searching for entheogens, stuff like that.
Do they concentrate it, or is always this?
You can actually get concentrated forms, and I got some a long time ago, and I never used it. I might have used it once to smoke and found it really harsh. Sometimes it's really harsh to smoke, and
how's the effect change when you smoke it?
Well, you notice like when you get into like 2 to 3 joints of it, which can be quite harsh. You'll start to feel euphoric. Like distant sounds will pop out. You might even get a slight tint as you smoke it. But like I said, it's pretty harsh, and so you have to be pretty disciplined to try and get 4 joints in with this stuff. So at least that's what I found for myself, is the dosage I had to take before I started to feel the
Is the
effects of
effect
it.
the same, similar to eating it?
I actually don't know about eating it, because you've always had to do it in a traditional
Tea. That's right.
traditional tea, where you put it out in the sun and let it ferment. I do take the tincture, and the tincture is quite nice, but I haven't tripped out on it, so to speak.
Yeah.
But I have interestingly enough, realized that there does seem to be a little bit more ability to recall memories that are from my childhood and
Oh, okay.
I do find that kind of interesting. I also notice on the flip side, so you have this access to more long-term memories. On the flip side, at least with my ADHD, I seem to have a little bit more difficulty with short-term memory. So when I do work with it, I find that like I might forget where I put my keys and other things.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, I suppose drugs in general are meant for keeping things in order.
Yeah.
um, I was just looking. I was just looking it up. It says it affects GABA and dopamine levels, or maybe it's an antagonist for GABA and dopamine receptors.
Oh yeah. So that's it. That's also an interesting point. People also consider it a dream herb, and or what they call an onarogen, and
Yeah,
people
right.
actually use this before they go to bed to alter their dreams. I haven't done a lot of dream work. Um, Dreams come and go for me, so um,
It says it affects the amygdala and hippocampus, so emotional regulation and memory formation. That sounds like really consistent with what you're talking about. It could produce vivid memories, emotional insights, or heightened recall,
yeah.
or have an introspective quality. Would you say it's good for healing, like your like psycho-emotional healing with memories?
Yeah, for sure. Like, I think it would be useful if somebody wanted to do what is kind of considered to be um, like reintegration of your past, or perhaps
Sure.
even like uh, finding more deeply repressed memories, uh,
Okay.
or
Do you
traumatic
know of
experiences.
either I don't know, people you know, or traditionally is it used for that?
No, I've mostly just worked with this on my own, and
Okay.
the only other experiences I've read about are on Arrowwood.
It also says temporal lobe, so that's auditory hallucination and distortion, and the thalamus, um, yeah, makes sensory. Anyway, huh? Do you are there other medicines you particularly enjoy, or is this? Do you use Sun Opener every day?
I don't use it every day, but I kind of almost always use it every week. I found if you
Yeah.
use it too often, like the short term memory
Oh,
becomes
really? It
more of an
starts going.
issue, and my wife will be like, "You already told me that," and I'll be like, or I like I'll lose my keys, or whatever other objects that I move around from on the daily.
How after you're basically back to baseline after a trip, how long would you say that effects kind of linger, or you notice that you're being altered still in some way?
It's really subtle. Like the euphoria will go away probably between 3 and 5 hours.
Yeah,
But the effects will last a little bit longer, but they're very, very subtle. Um,
I even meant things like short-term memory, like not even direct drug effects, but like side effects, I guess.
yeah, I would say probably like if you're doing low doses, it'll linger with you like an afterglow, kind of like with other psychedelics. Um, but like I mentioned, it's very subtle. The short term, I think, kind of goes away. Like if I was to do it in the morning, probably after dinner, I'd be fine. But
Yeah.
after lunch, like I still might, depending on how active I am and going from here to there. And that kind of makes me think about some of like the qualities of the Sun Opener that I'd like to share. And how it's kind of changed my journey. It's kind of helped me adopt a gentle approach in interactions. I feel like this kind of mirrors the plant's subtle effects. I also feel like it emphasizes listening and being present over, kind of asserting your opinions. I feel like it helps facilitate inner illumination and encourages self-exploration and personal insights. It feels like it's very reflective as it acts as a mirror for others, reflecting their thoughts and feelings back to them.
Hey, Jeremy, sorry to cut in. Thank you. Can you get in the shot?
I'm driving, so I'm trying to rig my situation here so you can see me, but see how successful I am without crashing my car. I'll be where I'm going though in 5 minutes.
Okay.
And then
so the last thing I'll mention is also, I feel like the Sun Opener helps you focus on harmony and balance. Helps you embrace non-dualistic perspectives, so you can honor both the light and the dark aspects of yourself. And this is kind of led me...
You can have self-witness without judgment. You can have self-witness with less judgment.
Yeah. And then that's kind of led me into this meditative practice that I do. It's called metta, and it's just a way to cultivate a warmth of loving kindness, kind of like the sun produces its own.
Yeah, the Buddhist. Okay.
Yeah, very similar.
And so did Sun Opener more firmly put you on a spiritual path, or help that along?
Yeah, I think it very much did. With that experience that I shared with you, it was very, very intense. One of the things that I was going to mention is that in some cultures, when they have auditory hallucinations like that, they call it auditory cleansing, and that it cleanses spiritual aspects of yourself.
Isn't that what Huxley called it? Cleansing the doors of perception. Yeah, auditory is unusual, right? That's interesting. I can see that. I'm a musician, and Chris is a musician too, and I'm an arranger and a transcriber. So I've spent decades listening to little tiny sounds and trying to, whatever, make sense of them. So this herb is of special interest to me. I feel like I'd want to be cautious and I don't know, mix it with things or just see what it does at low. Have you worked with it at low dosages in, say, meditation or I don't know, whatever else?
Yeah. One thing I would caution, and I've read about these in trip reports, is that there have been sound engineers that have worked with this herb and had experiences where their ability, from what I understand, to tune would be completely off for a few months.
Yeah,
so,
I've heard that too.
Yeah, I just want to add a little bit of caution there.
You've heard that. You've heard that too, huh, Jeremy?
Yeah, I heard it, and then I spent some time thinking about it, because if you're using your brain a certain way to relate to your own auditory information and something comes along and changes it, then you're not going to be able to do what you previously did, because most people aren't so specialized in hearing. Maybe they're specialized in something else, but if you are, then yeah, I guess that was what I was curious about, if I could experience really minor shifts.
Yeah,
that.
so like what I was telling him in my first experience with it, I kind of felt like it helped you tune into the archetypical harmonies versus actually what you were hearing. So when I was doing the scale, I would hear the perfect pitches, and I think that would probably be along the lines of why some sound engineers
I see. Yeah, that to me sounds
might not be too happy about, being a little bit off for a few months.
Yeah, you hear people that this is only vaguely related, but how you perceive like pitch in particular is pretty sensitive. You'll hear people who have perfect pitch, they're born with perfect pitch, and as they get older and their ears mature, their pitch gets all messed up, so they're hearing everything out of tune.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, people with perfect pitch say that it's kind of a mixed blessing. Like, I hear that a lot. As a musician, you meet somebody with perfect pitch, and you're like, dude, you basically were born Michael Jordan. How the fuck can you complain? But they're like, well, sometimes you don't want to be. It's got its downsides, like something's, there's a performance that's 10 cents flat. It's a good, but the whole thing's 10 cents flat, and the whole thing sounds like shit.
Yeah, I have to push against that a little bit. What to me that will be pitch grasping, because there's nothing in the universe that says that 440 has any relevance or value whatsoever more than any 441.2789. But if somebody is attached to a 440, to me, it's a weird moniker, perfect pitch, but it does mean that your ability to have an absolute pitch reference is true. And so I feel like it's a brain capacity that gets compartmentalized into somebody being able to remember 440. But that seems kind of like a stupid byproduct when you could be doing other things, having other types of tuning, whatnot. I don't know. You know what I mean? It doesn't. Obviously, I've been around perfect pitch my whole life. It doesn't. Yeah.
I've never understood that myself, but I've heard people who
well, that's it. Somebody can say, "Here's A," and it's A, but their brain can remember that. Anyway, I don't have to go too far into it, but it comes up a lot, and I think it's misunderstood or misapplied somehow.
Right. I understand what you're saying. You're saying that there's nothing magically right about an in-tune A.
No, there's no tune. It's totally man-made as of 400 years ago. It's not even that old.
So if the music is in tune with itself, it should still sound good.
Well, I don't think the whole thing, I guess that's what I'm saying, is the whole notion of this sounds bad, I have perfect pitch, seems like kind of a pathological and stupid problem to create in your head. I mean, I guess you have to say, hey, you know what? I don't have perfect pitch, so maybe maybe somehow it gets set along the way, and you can never change it. I don't know, but yeah, you know what I'm getting at? There's nothing about.
Yeah, I know what you're.
There's no, so yeah, it's weird. Yeah, everything should be into it. Anyway, yeah, cool. Any other, or sorry, do you have more to?
Yeah, did you want to add anything, or do we want to move on?
I think that's about it. I did write quite a bit about its pharmacology, but I think
I'm open to hearing.
I think we've already kind of went over a lot of that.
The pharmacology, is that like brain science stuff? Is that what that word means?
The active alkaloids and.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know if we want to get into that. That's a little too boring.
What class are they of? Is there a class that they might be related to other alkaloids we might know?
So they're anti-malarial.
Really?
Anti-cholinergic, so your smooth muscles will relax. So that's
it's anti-cholinergic. Oh, that's good to know. Yeah, that's a whole different ball game. All right.
Yeah, that's your bladder, lungs, and your your
Yeah, that's
gastrointestinal tract.
take too much, you'll stop breathing. I guess you have to take a lot.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
That's
vasoreluxant, anti-hypertensive, anti-inflammatory. And
okay,
those are
yeah.
the classes.
Datura and Jimsonweed and mandrake and all those European witch herbs, those are all anticholinergic. Those are the ones that you like. Well, anyway, that's that stuff. Just for reference. Okay, that's interesting.
But I wouldn't compare it to Datura at all.
No. I just
It's
meant
completely different.
how it affects your body. Yeah, and less poisonous, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Slightly.
Yeah, thanks for sharing all that, man.
Yeah.
Other medicines that have your fancy?
I like mushrooms. San Pedro has been nice. I've worked with a lot. Hawaiian baby wood rose, the Iluqui seeds, of course morning glory.
You had success with those?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
The Hawaiian baby wood rose is a very, very heavy body high, though. I don't know how much I would call a success, but
okay, yeah.
And then
morning glory is better. I mean, they're all morning glories.
The Iluqui seeds are much better. They don't have a lot of the negative effects.
Okay.
But they're still in that same class of LSA. And then DMT, of course. Especially DMT containing hape, which is the shamanic snuff.
I didn't know that was a thing.
That there's DMT in it?
Oh, you're saying there is hape with DMT in it?
Yeah. Well, they
usually are.
They usually use
that I knew.
Not all of them, of course, but
right,
some of them have the DMT containing plants, like chacruna and other plants in them. Vitrola.
Okay. I didn't know that. So it'll actually get you high.
Yeah.
Taking hape.
If you take enough of it.
Okay, that's not something I knew about.
Also,
hape, by the way, for anybody who knows what that is it's a traditional tobacco
Usually
that you
tobacco.
don't burn. It's you sort of, for lack of a better word, you sort of snort it basically.
Yeah, you blow it up your nose, or you have someone.
Yeah, oftentimes
blow it
it's
up.
social and very ritualistic because it'll take more than one person to do it.
Yeah, and it's not always tobacco. Sometimes they use different plants in the jungle that they'll find. They usually mix it with ashes
Yes.
from a medicinal tree, and it's quite pleasant for the most part.
Right.
Yeah, legal highs. That's interesting. What else have you had success with?
Of course, also Chris has reintroduced me back to Kana. I really like Kana. I wouldn't do it all the time.
Yeah.
Of course.
Does it make you feel dirty? It makes me feel dirty.
because of how you're taking it?
I guess so. I'm not sure. No, when it wears off, I kind of feel like kind of not twitchy, but kind of.
Yeah.
Kana, really?
Yeah. Like I want more. No, more. Yeah, I just feel like.
Yeah, it's kind of it's definitely got one of those effects where like it overbalances, and so when you come down from it, you have that twitchiness that you're talking about.
Yeah, you could call it haze. You could call it a snuff. That makes sense. Although we're talking about a very traditional, like, hape, that is.
Yeah, it's snuff.
Yeah. Although it's not, I guess I think of that word and, things, I don't know. I see cowboys, I guess. This is very traditional and ceremonial, usually.
One of the ones that I worked with that was very, very interesting is I worked with this seed you can get. It comes from a South American tree. It's a little circular seed, and you have to bake it in the oven for a few minutes so they pop like popcorn. And you have to like really tediously pull all the shells off, and then you basically muddle these seeds down into a powder, sift them through the thing, so you can get them fine enough particles. You can blow them up your nose. You can mix them with ashes or lye or lime, which is what I did. And I had a really deep experience with them, and they call it yopo.
Oh yeah.
And that was a really trippy experience.
What was that
for
like?
sure, and that has the chemical buffetin and some DMT in it as well.
Okay.
And yeah, I was laying in the forest there in Seattle, Discovery Park, and the sun had gone down, and it hit really hard. I laid down, and I was having like this dual trip, where like in between my heartbeats, it would alternate between different visions, and there was
Oh wow.
it was almost like one of those Windows screensavers with the pipes going everywhere. Just all this like crazy stuff going on, and they would alternate from one to the other. And I could feel like my body, like, I'm not sure exactly what would happen, but I was getting like, different parts of my body were like tensing up. And like, I don't know. I think it was like moving my blood along or something. I have no clue. It was a very trippy experience.
For everyone out there, and I think I remember this correctly, 5-MeO DMT is often called bufo, but bufotenine is a different chemical than 5-MeO, and it's you have to be more careful with it, from what I gather. 5-methoxy-DMT and bufotenine is 4-hydroxy-DMT, which is more related to psilocin than it is DMT. I mean, it depends how you look at it. But anyway, just, I don't know, cause I've been running into this lately and thought that was an interesting distinction. So, I read people having like kind of weird on bufotenine, having like tingling or itching sensations accompany the trip. So I don't know if that happened on Yopo, but yeah. Okay, that's cool. That sounds like a DMT vision with all the pipes.
Yeah. But I've never had it alternate like that before, like with on DMT, which was weird.
Yeah. Okay, cool. What about banana skins? I heard those are kind of
Never tried that one.
I did in high school. It didn't work, and I missed a party because of it. I was my friend and I. He was like 11 or 12, and like we were desperately trying to get high on dried banana peels, and then we finally gave up. And by then the party was over. So don't do that, kids.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm around people who have been trying to get high for a really long time. Eventually you get high. I always think like, sometimes I'll think, man, I am really good at getting high. What a stupid thing to be good at.
Yeah, that's common human motivation. Animals too, right? Drinking fermented
Sometimes.
nectar and whatnot. Okay, cool. Thanks for sharing all that, man.
Yeah.
Let's see here. You might have to go soon, right?
Yeah, I have 5 more minutes.
All right. Do you, Jeremy, want to transition into what you wanted to talk about? And then Farron will kind of just leave when he's got to leave?
This could last 10 seconds or can go on. I'm not expecting anyone to get super excited about my topic, but
I'm going to have to switch to a more interesting sound. to make up for what you're about to put us through.
Okay. But yeah, I'm always, let's see, I'm always studying something, and I started like 5 years ago, and often things I bring up on the show, we talked about Christianity a lot a few months back, right? It's always correlates to something I'm really investigating. And right now, after, I don't know, 4 or 5 years of really intensively studying religion in various contexts, I decided to start looking at how people write about God, how scientists and, you know, science philosophers write about the idea of God. And so I'm, I don't know, a week, you know, or two in to this topic, and what's striking me is a couple things. But simply put, my notion right now that feels most salient is that God is the emergent property of a complex system. And so, you know, material reality is like incredibly complex. Even the world of quarks is incredibly complex. So, but basically, if you have interacting pieces of matter or energy, if you have interacting things, then the process of how it unfolds is God, which you could easily correlate to God does this, or God wants this, or God intends that, because whatever's happening, especially when you get to complexity, you have these emergent properties that happen. For instance, your own tendency to keep your body balanced, right? The function your brain has, or to keep your pulse even, right? Those are emergent properties. You don't need that unless you have a heart, and you don't really need a heart unless your body's big enough, and so forth. So you could argue that these emergent properties that seem to have thing qualities of a system that seem to arise on their own, right? One ant crawls around, but 10,000 ants have hierarchy and society and, you know, all sorts of stuff. You could say that's God. The fact that happened, or things tend to evolve in a certain direction. They oppose entropy, right? They grow in greater complexity and organization. That's God. Because you can't understand God outside of time, first of all, because we're in time. You can't say that's God, or God is ... That doesn't make any sense. You can really know anything in time, because, well, you can only know anything with your mind as well, because that's all you have. So to define God, to consider, does God exist, or do you believe, as if you can give an answer that has any value to have an experience, it doesn't do any good. So all that leaves us with is, how are you going to point out God? That like something synchronistic happened, that you asked for a sign and it happened. Even if you ask God for a healing and you get healed, what's God? In that case, God is the healing, because that's what happened, right? Or if you pray, you could say that God is just the prayer itself, the relationship you're having with whatever you're calling God. But it always, anytime you get to the word God, you fold back into a process, which again is necessarily the case of being, existent as a human, and also the experience. Yeah, that's how you know God. So
that reminds me.
So yeah.
That reminds me of the phrase, I am that I am.
Yeah, right. It's circular.
I am that I am.
It's I suppose you could say the same thing as I'm blanking on, was it Descartes' famous saying, I think therefore I am? Who said that?
That is Descartes.
Yeah, Descartes. But yeah, right. All you know is that the fact of your experience is your experience. the fact that it's happening is all you got. You can't rationalize why it's happening, not really. And so you can't, that's all you got, is the fact that your experience is happening. Same thing inside yourself. You know, if you really go sit by yourself, say in a meditation retreat, and all you got is your own self, you learn what that means and how to adequately interact, you know, how to run that system, right? You can't go running to another person or to an authority figure that seems to be some absolute, you know, line in the sand, ontological like reality. Everything is just process. Every person is just giving it their best guess. Anyway, so that was one. So God as process, which is a Whitehead kind of thing, but you know, is also just metaphysically true. God as
it's just metaphysically true. Once you understand what I understand, you'll see it's just metaphysically true.
Or it could be said to be metaphysically true, as opposed to rationalized, is what I mean. Yeah, that fits into kind of scientific perspective from various authors, and I like that. It comes up obviously in in mysticism. That's kind of where this happens, and I guess the writings that have captured me have a mystical bent, because otherwise what you have left is science and religion that are kind of have split apart from each other, you know, 400 years ago, and now are seemingly in like contradiction to each other, which is kind of like a silly state of affairs. I suppose it could be argued to be true, but they interrelate better in other ways than just to make them like at war. So anyway, that's kind of what I've been doing this week, and I'm happy to chat about it after having ranted about it. But otherwise, we can move on if that's either way.
You know, I was thinking about, because I remember you wanted to talk about that, and I was like, okay, that's interesting in some ways, but I'm also like, well, here's a problem and here's a problem. But I realized that, you know, when I define God, I'm just not very analytical about it, which is how I tend to be about philosophically, is that I think, okay, I've had a relationship with something that I call God ever since I was about 12, and that relationship evolves, which is process, right? So that gets into the process theology, process philosophy idea. But I don't bother to define it very much because I don't really think of it particularly in conceptual terms.
Yeah, no, I know. Although, well, what would you say? You're having a feeling experience, or what kind? How do you experience that? Not through language, I guess you're saying.
I mean, it's interesting because it's sort of interpersonal, almost an anthropomorphic kind of thing, except that my philosophy evolved beyond an anthropomorphic kind of God 20 years ago. But the relationship, it's still relational. It's not. It's not very analytical. It's more relational.
Yeah, that you Christians have an easier time with that.
Oh, that's interesting. Maybe, and you're a Christian now, so there you go. You don't have to,
well,
you'll never have to think again.
Say that as a Jewish person, you get it in a more abstract form. Christians are all about the Father and the Son. You don't get that. Judaism is God's abstract, and there is no Son, and the rest of it's Kabbalah, and no one studies it really, except, you know, whoever does. But I like that about Christianity. It really becomes personal very easily, and then very salient because of that, because we all know what it feels like to relate to a son or a father, so that kind of makes it easy.
I tend to think about God as all that is, the present moment, source.
Yeah, like a timelessness that's still flowing. It's not static.
Yeah, I was talking to somebody once, and they had this concept called the mandala of the present moment, which the mandala is this geometric vision, but that geometric vision can alter into its ways into what you see right now.
Oh yeah, nice. I like that. I'll go with that. So you're saying God is like the sum total of whatever you're experiencing? Because
what you're experiencing and what you're not experiencing, and beyond
yeah,
that.
sure. or what cannot be experienced? Yeah, right. What you know to be true, or what could possibly be true. That's kind of like the quantum foam or quantum void idea. All possibilities, all unrealized possibilities that are potentially there but not manifest. Yeah.
Is that what quantum foam is? That's where reality includes the possibilities that don't manifest? That might be true, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I essentially, I mean, in a hugely simplified form, but yeah, I don't know very well. Yeah, basically, they're not manifest, they're pre-manifest. They're all just potential pre-manifest states. So I guess it's the sum total of all possibilities. Yeah. Yeah, so, yeah. All the other thing too is when I hear, I don't know, whatever, I have my opinion, right? So it's just my opinion. But when books start getting really literal about God, I'm like, no, it's a process and make this argument so much easier. But same with mind. I always thought, what's the problem integrating mind and body? Electricity, granted, electricity is energy, but we already know that energy and matter have, they interchange with each other. So it's essentially like saying they're part of the same spectrum, right? Electricity, chemicals, axons, cells, the brain, your bones, boom. There's no dividing line. Electricity is and there's even other things that are like electrochemical motivated proteins and whatnot. I don't know, I guess that's matter, but I never saw why it was so hard to integrate mind and body. Anyway.
I was gonna head out here. I wanted to thank you for having me on the podcast. It was nice talking to you, Jeremy.
Yeah, great to meet you.
And I just want to say, may you be happy, may you be healthy, may you be safe, may you be at peace, may you be loved.
Yeah, thanks.
Have a great day,
man.
All right.
Yeah, we'll see you again.
Yeah, see you later. Thanks for coming over. Yeah, I'll talk to you later.
All right, bye. Anyway, yeah, that's cool, great. I love to learn about stun openers. Super useful, interesting, experimental kind of plant. Don't do too much, and sounds kind of fun.
It does sound interesting.
Yeah.
And that's the first time I've ever we've had guests several times. And we're always looking for opportunities to have other, guests. But he said, I'll come over. And it's like, oh, fuck, I'm going to have to figure that out. Okay, speaking of guests, here we go.
Oh, we got Hayes?
Yeah. Yeah, when we started talking about, Cabal, I think, he got passionate.
We started talking about what?
Cabal. You mentioned Kabbalah. I'm not sure. We'll see.
Oh, really?
I let him in. Let's see. I don't quite understand. I let him in, and then he didn't show up. Oh, there he is. All right. I will have to readjust that video. Well, I'll be over here, and we will make some room for all of our friends. Hayes is still, his video's not on.
Those are my philosophical pet peeves. Mind and body go together. Electricity, obviously, and God is the process, because how could it be otherwise? There you go.
Well, my impression is that you just don't have a problem with the idea of emergentism, basically, consciousness emerging from the physical, and other people do. I don't know what to tell you. Other people do.
Yeah, and yeah, I mean, I don't know, yeah, that you're necessarily gonna defend it on their behalf. But if you say consciousness, that's unfair. It's not this one block of thing. It's this hugely layered, alterable, thing happening. So if you actually pick it apart, then I don't know. Then you could you can more easily see that, it's kind of maybe a sum of lots of different kinds of consciousness into one thing, each of which could change or, be correlated to certain brain or body structure.
Okay. Why don't we be polite to our friend Hayes?
Oh, is he here?
Yeah. Oh, you can't see?
Hi, Hayes. I can't see.
Howdy, how y'all
Oh, there
doing?
you go. Oh, right on. Sweet.
It's good
How's
to
it
see you. A
going?
long time.
Yeah, really.
Yeah. Well, this summer we hardly did anything, so you didn't miss much. Yeah, I think you popped you popped your head in. I think every time we did a podcast, or maybe you missed like one.
Yeah. It's been a heck of a year for me, to say the least.
How's it?
Yeah,
I hope
right.
next year will be better.
Oh, yeah, that's what everyone
Oh
says.
yeah. I remember you were telling us about some pretty heavy drama going on. I don't remember what it was, but I remember a medical or something like that. Or I think there was a death in the family. In any case, yeah, it's good to see you.
Yes, I lost my brother back in June.
Oh, no, that's terrible. Sorry.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's just, I mean, I'm getting to that age where, like your family members are getting to that age.
Yep.
But it is what it is, it's I've learned so much this year. It's like I can't even begin to describe the journey that this year is, and what you were talking about just now, Jeremy. It's I wanted to talk to you guys about this stuff, but at the same time, it's like kind of because like first of all, like what do you guys even know about Kabbalah? You can say Kabbalah, but it's really Kabbalah.
Oh, well, not much. I don't know much. I don't know much.
Fair enough. I'm always curious because I was not raised Jewish or anywhere near any kind of Jewish tradition. But something funny happened to me when I moved to New York City, and this was after I'd had 2 salvia experiences.
Slippery slope.
Right?
It's the gateway.
Longer story, a bit shorter. This person invited me to go to this place in Bensonhurst, Brooklyn. It was a group of people called B'nai Baruch. And I had no idea what I was walking into, and it was Kabbalah. And I fell in love instantly. I mean, as soon as I listened to what they were saying, what they were talking about, I just like opened up immediately. And the funny thing is, of course, is that according to their traditions and just their sort of predictions about human nature and everything, they're like, oh yeah, we're glad that you're here and everything, but bye-bye, see you later. And 10 years go by, and I wander, as they say, the path of pain and suffering. And I finally came back to them a couple years ago. And I've been learning, the first time around, it's pretty amazing because like what I felt the first time that I ran into them was like these guys, they got the real secrets to life, the meaning of the universe and everything. They really know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
But again, at the same time, I was like, yeah, but there's this, it's over here, and there's that belief over there. So, I went, and during that time, I actually got to meet Jordan Maxwell, during that 10 years. That was pretty cool. I don't know if you know who he is or not, but that was, he's a very integral figure in theosophy. And if you ever, what's that movie? I can't think of it right now, but Zeitgeist.
Oh, yeah.
He is he's the first voice you hear in that movie. That's Jordan Maxwell. But yeah, recently I hooked back up with him. And what I recommend to you, Jeremy, is I don't know, somehow like all you got to do is just actually just search for KABU, KAB University, Kabbalah University on YouTube, and you'll run into it.
Oh, okay.
Some of the stories about Adam and Eve, about Noah's Ark, about Moses parting the Red Sea, what Pharaoh really means, all this stuff.
Yeah.
It's gonna blow your mind away, man.
Oh, really? Oh, great. So, this Hasidic, or sorry, this Kabbalah, wait, how do you say it's pronounced accurately?
Kabbalah.
Kabbalah University is a product of this B'nai Baruch.
Actually, it's Kabbalah. It really doesn't matter. But the thing is, at this point, like when I'm, with my group and everything, if I don't say it right, they're all me like that.
You're part of B'nai Baruch. Is that what you called it?
Yes, B'nai Baruch.
And is this a Hasidic synagogue?
No, this is it is Lurianic.
Oh, okay.
Kabbalah.
So they're studying. They're a Kabbalah study group.
Yes.
Oh, gotcha. All right, cool. Interesting. All right, and then Kabbalah University. All right, yeah, I will definitely check it out because I like, and maybe you can tell me more. You piqued my interest because essentially you're saying there's these ideas, the Red Sea, Moses, and all the rest that, well, at least as I took what you said, are concepts or ideas that it sounds like B'nai Baruch has a particular interpretation of what those mean. Is that accurate?
Except for it's not an interpretation.
Well, if somebody thinks Moses is a guy who literally parted the Red Sea and they're saying something different, then technically it is. But that's fine. I mean, sure, I suspect have the keys that are deeper truths than most. You want to say? I don't know. You want to say anything about that?
There's one word. Attainment.
Okay.
That's the difference. Is everything they speak about is through actual attainment.
Oh, okay. So give me 1 second here.
Absolutely. Now I'm left with the entertaining. All I have to entertain with in front of me is blinking lights.
Whoa, that's trippy looking. I don't know what we're looking at, but that was really cool in the with the effects and stuff. What happened to Jeremy? Did you scare him off?
I don't know. He had to run off.
Oh, really? He's not there?
Yeah, he'll be back.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, this is my music studio, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
I wish you, of all people, could get to come in here and play with this stuff because you actually have the aptitude to play keyboards.
Well, yeah, the irony of our show is when we started the show, I don't know how conscious it was, but part of it was he really wanted to work on, he basically has all these philosophic ideas and he studies a lot and stuff. And he wanted a place to express himself, right? I actually have more background than he does academically and stuff in philosophy, we'll say. And when it comes to keyboard, yes, I'm a musician, and I work on keyboard, but I've only been playing keyboard for like 2 years. I practice several
Oh,
hours a week.
really?
Yeah, I've been playing for
Awesome.
about 2 years. I mean, I've been a musician since I was 12, but my main instrument was trumpet, and then I got into computer music, like effects at first, live looping and stuff, and then eventually into computer music and generative music and stuff. And I only got into keyboard about 2 or 3 years ago, I guess. And Jeremy, on the other hand, is a professional piano player.
That's funny.
Yeah, and so
That's
this
awesome.
podcast is an experiment, really, in him expressing himself philosophically, and me expressing myself as a keyboardist.
That's so cool. That's such a
It
cool
is kind of
hidden
cool.
underlying theme.
Yeah,
Kind of like out of each of your comfort zones in a way, and then sharing.
yeah. You
that
want
with each. That's really cool.
I don't know. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it's great for my keyboard playing because I'm not doing complicated stuff, but I'm stretching out, and
Yeah, but you can go for hours, and that's what's really cool.
I'm trying to do that because my
Yeah.
my music that I make now is specifically built to play in psychedelic ceremony, which will go for several hours. So I need to be able to play for at least an hour pretty comfortably, and to do it while high, which is its own challenge.
Yeah. I kind of do more like techno music, so I wouldn't consider it ceremonial type kind of stuff. And actually, I wouldn't really even want to listen to my music when I was on drugs.
Really?
More just kind of like party music.
Oh, okay. Although, raves are. You know what you're talking about. I'm not saying you don't know what you're talking about, but obviously,
Well,
raves are a traditional
yeah.
place for using psychedelics, and people have powerful experiences there.
Yeah, that kind of stuff.
So you use like drum machines and stuff?
Yes, we got a sampler over here way back there with the green monster. There's a couple drum machines. There's some modular and semi-modular for doing generative and just noise drones and whatnot. And can't see it over here, but the main station, I might be able to kind of slowly. Yeah,
You're into noise music? Wow, look at all your toys. Holy shit.
Here, I am going to pull
that's the main brain right there.
Give me a second. I'm going to pull out the, or tone down the green screen effect so that we can see what you're doing better. Okay, now we can actually see. Oh, yeah, cool. Give us a little tour.
Okay, that's the main brain. It's a Scorp pyramid. It's a sequencer. And it can sequence up to 64 synthesizers, which is utterly insane.
Fucking Rick, dude.
And then
Wow,
these
that's
two
insane.
are like acid machines. This is like a TB303 clone, but it's also my main sequencer. It generates the sequences, and then I store them in here, and then like have tracks that go out to all of the can't point. They go out to all the different
Shit.
synthesizers.
Oh, okay. With either CV or MIDI?
MIDI, yeah, it's almost all exclusively MIDI until we get down all the way down here, and then I can start doing CV stuff. And this will emit CV gate, but it's only one track of CV gate, so it's almost kind of 64 tracks of MIDI.
Wow.
It's unreal.
Huh.
And I've got effects up here, and then of course the rack down here with another couple mixers and compressors and more stuff. I've even got a headset microphone, but I didn't want to use it right now. I think the batteries are going dead right now, so didn't have time to charge them.
Can we hear something?
Well, it's all on my channel, of course. On my YouTube
Okay, and
channel.
what channel is that?
Hayes Anderson.
Yeah.
Hayes Anderson, all right.
Feel free to put your channel into the chat.
Sure.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, I wanna. That's a lot of wires and
Yeah.
knobs and buttons.
Yeah, I had attempted at one point to go more hardware, because I was
It's
tired
the
of
in
fucking with
thing.
software, and I ended up
In
going
thing.
back to software. I actually don't know very much about the stuff that you're doing. I've never used CV, for example, ever a single time, or
What does
I've
that
never
stand
had a
for?
hardware sequencer, and maybe I should, but I don't.
It
What
stands
CV?
for
Oh yeah.
control voltage.
Oh, CV. Oh, I see. Oh,
Do you
and
know
the
what MIDI
modular
is?
synthesizers.
Yeah.
Do you know what MIDI is, Jeremy?
Yeah, I work in MIDI. Yeah.
So CV is just analog, literally analog MIDI.
Okay, gotcha.
Super
For
primitive.
modular synthesizers.
Yeah, it's super primitive,
Yeah. Okay.
but it's
Although-
cool.
Although to
I
this
gotcha.
day, like high-end,
There's
like
a
gear
natural
often has
glissando,
CV.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Right. When you do it.
Whereas MIDI is stepped digital.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Cool.
But I got a philosophical question for you though,
Oh, sure.
and this maybe might give you an idea maybe of what Kabbalah is kind of about. But I will say this, man, we are really into spirituality.
Yeah. Of course.
Like, wow. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome.
Let me just say, like, my only real reservation with Christianity is I never could understand the whole concept of the blood of Christ and these just it don't you don't have to get into it right now, but for me personally, I never could get understand it. And I was never going to just say, oh yeah, whatever. No, I mean I need to believe. You know what I'm saying? I need to really feel like I'm, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So and this has been a different kind of faith building in a sense. But okay, so I'll get to my question now. Sorry. Okay, what is a sin?
Oh, I would define a sin as anything that obscures your clearly perceiving God as powerfully as you're capable of.
That's a fair
Not bad.
definition. It's very accurate,
Yeah.
actually. That's beautiful.
Nice. Are you online? I'd like to check. These cats out. Is it an online thing, or you're in person? Yeah, it's online.
So I actually check this out. I went to we have two. Okay, first of all, there's a huge congress in Israel every year. There's a few congress in Israel every like thousands of people go. I may go in the future. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm happy just staying right here right now.
Yeah.
But we have two retreats, one in Amsterdam and one in New York, upstate. And I just got back from the one in upstate New York. I went there at the beginning of September. Utterly blew my mind away.
Yeah, but
And of course you say that, right, and everything, but it literally like, like you start to feel like you got these holy robes on suddenly.
yeah.
But they go right away, of course. And that's kind of the beauty of the whole thing is it's almost it's literally walking that razor thin line. It's almost impossible.
I apologize. Give me 1 second.
No worries. But yeah.
What
Just
do you
context
do?
switch.
What do you do at one of those retreats?
Oh, great question.
Da-da-da.
We basically do a lot of workshopping. We break off into small groups, and we listen to each other in these small groups, and we focus on altruism. We focus on annulment, which, if you think about it, right, with DMT and salvia, like I'm sure you've had trips where you've had ego annulment. You've experienced some level of selflessness, surely.
Oh yes.
So it's kind of like that's what we're going for here, naturally.
Or
it's sort
can
of
I-
like, yeah, go ahead.
Can I ask? Is B'nai Baruch modern Orthodox or old school Orthodox? Do they dress
Whoa.
different than modern dress?
Okay, so we're totally casual, like totally
Okay.
non-traditional.
Oh, okay. This is an eclectic group of all walks of
Yes.
life. Gotcha.
We like, I don't have a group yet, and I'm supposed to get one next month. I'm very excited. But
Oh,
it's
they
literally-
pair you up or whatever.
Yeah, it's literally like a support group.
Huh. Who's leading it? A rabbi?
Yes, his name is Michael Lightman.
Okay,
Rav Michael Lightman.
I see.
And,
And he dresses like a normal dude.
Yeah,
Okay.
he wears the yarmulke.
Okay.
back
So
of his head,
he's
just 'cause he chooses
gotcha.
to.
So he's obviously practicing Jew, and he started this group. I see.
No.
Cool. All right.
Well,
no. It's
no, he
Orient.
didn't start it.
it's his lineage.
It's his lineage. That's right.
But he's yeah.
from his teacher and from
But I'm
his
saying
teacher,
he
from his
started
teacher,
this. He started this collective.
he expanded it into this collective. Yes,
Okay, I see. All right, yeah.
which is what, because really up until like 1995, it was never really meant to be public at all.
Okay, I gotcha.
And I have
Well,
no idea what Madonna has to do with any of this.
Yeah, I suppose you fit as well into a spiritual Jewish group as I do into a black Pentecostal
That's a good point.
Pentecostal Christian group that I've been involved in. That's really fascinating. Is there has he written? Would one be able to like essentially glean some of his interpretations and philosophy in a way short of diving right into the Kabbalah, to the Kabbalah?
Absolutely. I think that's why he and his students, his next level of students, which are my instructors, like he is our teacher and I have instructors, if that makes sense.
Yeah, sure.
Like they literally just parrot what he says. So there's a little dogma in terms of that.
Okay.
But it keeps the message direct and clean, if you see what I'm saying. Like we don't change the words. These words are not taken out of a thesaurus just to be poetry. They're specific. Like, let me give you a great example.
Yeah.
Like in the Bible, okay? When we talk about Genesis. Have you ever heard the word Bereshit?
Yes.
Okay, what does that mean?
I can't remember.
It means created six.
Created six, Bereshit. Okay.
I mean, isn't that a little kind of like, whoa? I mean, little tingles in the back of your neck, maybe?
Oh, no, it doesn't mean anything to me. Created six?
Yeah, the first 6 days before the seventh day of creation.
Oh, okay, sure. But it
before we were made.
Yeah.
See, because it goes from creation, but man was made. See the difference there?
Oh,
these words are not interchangeable.
That's
the kind of stuff that I'm talking about.
Oh, Bereshit, so, 6 days of creation, and then man was made. Gotcha. I see.
So you can get like way deep with this stuff.
Yeah. No, that's right. That's good.
What's great about the videos here on YouTube is that it's sort of like this broad level introduction, and there's like 50, 60, 70 of these videos out there. They're an hour long each.
Okay.
And they're from we've got Leo, we've got Asaph, we've got Gianni, we've got
these are
Seth.
Teachers?
Yeah, my instructors.
Oh, okay. Oops.
And then you can also see our teacher, Rob Michael Lightman, talk, but he only speaks in Hebrew, and so there's interpreters.
Oh, he's Israeli?
I think so. He speaks Russian. I forget. I forget where he's actually born, but I think he was educated. He's got a degree educated in Russia. His major study is bio-cybernetics.
Oh, no shit.
I mean, like we're not, like, we totally believe in the Big Bang. There's no contradiction between that. I will say this, they're not so big on the New Testament necessarily, but the New Testament is a message of love, so it's kind of like there's no big deal. Like it's beautiful, it's great. There's wonderful, please
sure.
partake.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, sometimes it's about love. Oftentimes it is.
Right.
It's meant to be, like people will turn it into, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, from earlier, and I'm out of my group, so we'll see how this goes. But the only thing I was going to add to your notion of Christianity, which in some ways I identify with you. I don't feel like the narrative is something I can swallow whole, and certainly the fundamentalism is not interesting. But the notion that there's a second now I'm like even forgetting the basics of the second what is it, Chris? The God's second covenant. Yeah. The second, is it the second? There was different covenants made.
Oh, the temples.
God made covenants with humanity through various prophets in Jewish history.
That is okay. Here's the great part about all of that. It literally all boils down to a message of love.
Well, yeah, I know that, but right, I totally agree. But I'm saying,
you can get so deep on many levels, and we study that stuff intensively.
That's not true. God wasn't making covenants with older Jewish prophets with love. He was making covenants to help them get their shit together, to have social cohesion, to come out of the Neolithic period, some of it was pretty structural, and then late through Jesus, it really was about love. But early on, it really matched where they were, socially, evolutionarily. Anyway, that was just one piece that I thought was easier to swallow. And now, whether there's a God making a covenant, that literally one could argue that the fact that monotheism came into existence in the first place is because the energy of that somehow, quote unquote, made a covenant or participated biocybernetically with humankind, that humans thought, you know what, let's do this. Let's decide there's only one God, their survival strategy in that. And then it got more refined into love and whatnot. But the narrative that Jesus was a covenant, that you personally could be saved. You didn't have to go through an external source.
Personally.
Yeah, so before you had to go through the collective. But the second covenant God made with humans was that you could have the same trajectory that Jesus did. You don't need Jesus except by way of an exemplar of a process that exists as possible for everybody individually. That's what I think brilliant.
That's okay.
So that's kind of all I would say. If I had to say one thing about Christianity of what it means, that would be it. And what
that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, because then you tie it into this kind of humans are evolving in their spirituality, and the gods they worship are obviously evolving too, at least by their perception. And now we get to this unique aspect of a loving monotheistic God, which definitely was not that way a couple thousand years ago.
Okay, now
right?
Let me
think
on that.
Yeah.
Because that is the interesting part. In your salvia experiences, did you ever feel like that you were separate from the outside world, and then all of a sudden you kind of mingled, you became part of it?
Oh, like through salvia you lost your duality?
And in that, but I'm being very specific, did you ever specifically feel the sensation of all the stuff that you were like, I don't like that stuff, and all of a sudden there it is, and it's you're entangled and it's all part of you now, and then you kind of you become annulled?
Oh, what do you not like your own?
Oh, no. He's just talking about the salvia experience.
Right, but he said you don't like that stuff. What?
Well, no. No. He was just identifying. That was.
It's like you become
not what he was trying to say.
Oh, okay.
It's like the outside world becomes perceived as all of the stuff that you thought was negative and tried to stay away from. What you perceive basically as pain.
Oh.
I remember one time I had the sensation where it was like all the things that I thought were bad and a part of that caused me problems and pains, and the whole world problems and pains.
You've set those apart from you, right? Yeah, sure.
But then in salvia, I became intertwined and connected with them.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So
most potently, I have that on ketamine.
Wow.
I mean, on everything really, but ketamine, there's a way I can share later. There's a particular way I've understood that it works, but it's basically what you're saying. You get entangled.
Okay.
Yeah.
Two mantras.
Okay.
There is none but Him.
Sure.
And He is the good that only does good.
Okay. And those have special power in that annulled state if you chant them. or
No,
gets you there?
no. You don't.
No?
They don't. They're. I'm just. Let me stake that. They're not mantras in the sense that you chant. That was a bad labeling on my behalf. Just
Oh, I
two things.
Oh, I see. True.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Axioms.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
These I would propose to you, like, just as an opinion, right? This is truth. That there is none but Him, and He is the good that only does good.
Yeah.
And it is because we are so separate from Him that we perceive pain and suffering in the world.
Yeah.
Now, I see pain and suffering. I don't see it. You see what I'm saying? But it's a faith that I work towards.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. You're right. You're trying to see through those two truths more strongly than any other truth.
Well, that plus like the one that makes it all possible, or the one those two make possible. Love thy neighbor as thyself.
Yeah.
What's yours is yours, and what's mine is yours.
Yeah, that's the
toughest one.
All else is commentary, right?
That's the toughest one. And it's we're not. Here's the thing: we're not built to do that. We're built
right
to take.
Yes. That, yeah, I do know that to be one of the primary, probably Judeo-Christian teachings, is that, actually those three things, but culminating in the selfless, like kind of socially self-transcendent way of being, all loving, which Jesus really did. I think a lot of people exemplified it. He's one of them, or special, or who knows. But or other, other saints on earth, right? Or spiritual teachers that are so loving that like nothing it like pierces through everything. When you're around them, they've embodied those truths so intensely that they're just all love. I guess you're saying that's the goal.
That's the goal, and
that's the goal.
And we don't do it by ourselves.
Right. No. Right. It has to be with others. Yeah.
Is it part of Kabbalah that spirituality should be in community?
I would say so. I can't say for sure, but I think that that's probably very true. I mean, we are all about community. That's sort of like, it is about, because here's what the covenant really is. It's about uniting humanity. That's
to each other. Yeah, sure.
So that we help each other.
Yeah,
right. And
totally.
Look around the world right now. It's bad. It's always been bad.
It's always been bad.
Because we've been so selfish. I'm looking. I'm no different. We're all sinners.
Yeah. And now I guess we're in old times, but you're uniting humanity in that particular way.
But if you think about it,
sharing,
right? It's not really about it is, but it's not so much about a monotheistic God as much as it is about realizing that God exists among us, and if we're not
human God,
a force of nature.
Oh, okay, sure. The what I guess maybe I was saying before, like process that. Why does energy why is energy inherently moving, right? Why does the universe? That's the perpetual motion machine. It's at the root of reality. Reality exists seemingly out of nothing all the time. It goes that direction.
A lot of my instructors, and definitely my teacher, I feel like, especially my teacher, he understands the meaning of reality.
Yeah, I bet.
He really does.
Okay, cool.
And they're trying to teach me. I'm just a dumb monkey right now. It's really hard to get, man. It's really
Yeah.
simple. I mean, I can kind of go talk a little bit about it. It's just like there's
Sure.
these four phases, essentially.
Okay.
There's like a root phase, which is, the creator. Just we don't. The thing is it's like there's these different firmaments, right?
Yeah. Different
And the
heavens.
first-
Sure.
This first one is, we can't understand what God is. We'll never really understand what God is. Not in this
Yeah.
existence. But there's something like way before the Big Bang, okay? Before time existed,
Yeah.
there's all of this shit that happened.
Yeah.
And we're a copy of all of that, if that makes any sense. And that's why when you
Yeah.
look around, you see what I'm saying? It's like the beauty is when you start bringing in the 10 Sephiroth into all of this, the tree of life. It really starts to like open up your mind a lot. Because at first you see this thing, it looks like some kind of weird magical hex kind of thing. And let me tell you right off the bat, the first funny thing about Kabbalah is that, a lot of people try to gain the knowledge of these mysteries. And what they were trying to do is they were trying to gain personal benefit. They're using it as a system of
Sure.
magic,
Sure.
right? And it's kind of like, whatever. This is not that. But when you see these things, it's really easy to look at it and think that it's like forms of magic.
Yeah, a lot of people know Kabbalah to be used that way. I mean, I guess Kabbalah is it's a wisdom tradition that can be used in any number of ways for annulment or magic, I guess, ultimately, right?
I suppose so. I haven't really done I feel pretty fortunate, and I think it was because of Salvia, honestly, that I ran into like the first group of people, like the first Kabbalistic group that I ran into was B'nai Baruch. And I think there are a couple others out there that are, pretty decent, but it's pretty easy to kind of tell, like as soon as anything starts to, I mean, it's like this, I'll put it to you this way, and I hate to say it, I'm going to be really bold right now, but even Christianity is not really a monotheistic religion. It's really not.
Yeah, I agreed.
And it's completely idol, whatever. You worship. It's an idol worshiping religion.
Yeah.
It's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just you have to understand. Are you really connecting to God or not? And are you pleasing God? Do you want to please God?
Yeah.
What does that even mean?
I'll argue that the potential problem of such a transcendent monotheism like Judaism or Islam is then you run the risk of devoiding manifest reality of all spirituality, and it's all up there. That's no good either.
Exactly. Like we say, you can attain it here now.
Yeah, right.
It's going to take a lot of work.
Yeah.
And it's going to change you to the core.
So this is, I mean, I guess I want to say this is your religion, although really it's a spiritual path that you've, is that how you describe it? You join the spiritual path?
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
it's I don't know, essentially mystical Judaism. It's Kabbalah, Lurianic Kabbalah.
It really, I'm going to be so bold as to say, Judaism came from Kabbalah.
Oh, yeah. Well, when was that book written? Do you know?
Okay, that's the
know.
thing. Hang on a second.
Or when was it
that's the thing,
compiled? Maybe it's probably a compilation, right?
It gets unfortunately controversial. We shall
All
say.
right, we're getting deep here. I can tell. All right, let's do this.
Okay, so
I need to interject and say that I have to go soon.
Okay.
okay. Well, okay.
Come on,
I'll
Chris. Here we go, Chris.
Okay, here we go.
Down the rabbit
It starts roughly 5,800 years ago.
hole. What does?
What Adam wrote the book.
Yeah.
Adam
Okay.
wrote the book Raziel the Angel, and I believe this was Adam Harishon actually, as opposed to Adam. Well, I got to look into that one a little bit more.
Well, you
Definitely
said
not Adam Kadmon. There's more than one Adam.
6,000 years ago, a certain book was written.
Called Raziel the Angel. You can look this up. It's on Wikipedia.
Okay.
I've never heard of that.
And this was the first concept of the Sephiro and the Tree of Life, but it's totally it wasn't like laid out like the Tree of Life. It's totally written in code. It looks like magic.
Okay.
About 3,800 years ago, Abraham wrote Sefer Yetzirah, called the Book of Creation.
Yeah.
And this presents the 10 Sephiro and their structure, and it's also written in code.
Okay, I remember.
Then 3,200 years ago, Moshe gave us the Torah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And it mentions the Tree of Life 3 times, and it's written in the language that we call roots and branches. So you're not supposed to take it literally. The Old Testament.
Roots. Okay.
You don't take it literally.
Okay.
So when they say the mouth of the sword,
yeah,
they literally mean the mouth of the sword, not the edge of the sword. When it says hidden, that wasn't a typo. That means double concealment.
Okay.
There's all kinds of code.
And you're saying you should. Oh, so do not take it literally. You have to interpret it. I see. Okay.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. Interpret is such a weird word. It's
well. Okay. Fine.
You have to decode it. You have to decode it.
Okay. Sure.
Yeah. And then here's the best one. Was 1,800 years ago. Was the Zohar. Have you heard of that one?
Yeah. Sure.
Okay. The Zohar is what we study, and man, it's a mind f. It is out there, man.
Oh, that's your main book, is the Zohar.
Yeah. And
cool.
The book that I'm reading right now upstairs, I keep it next to my bed and I read every night before I go to bed. It's a commentary of a commentary on pieces of the Zohar.
Oh,
That's how complicated the stuff is.
Yeah.
It takes, it's like generations of passing from word of mouth. And
Hinduism's like that too.
Yeah, I was going to say that too.
Absolutely.
You see that in Hinduism.
Sufism is almost, from what we understand, is almost the same thing as Kabbalah. It's just, it's more.
Well, it's humans, right? I mean, humans, our brains are similar, so we produce similar mysticisms, altered by culture and geography and biome and whatnot.
Because mysticism is mysticism.
And I'm still unconvinced that all of us have not achieved some level of attainment through salvia or DMT.
Oh, yes, of course. Well, drugs were just a natural part of human life. Nobody was singling them out as like bad, maybe controlled in a way, but there's no. So yeah, they're of course part of this. There's some great books about, and I could turn you on to some about. Whatever, this connection between psychedelics and early religion, essentially.
Oh yeah, I'm quite sure. Jordan Maxwell talked about this a lot too. When you see the old shaman, or not the old high priests.
Yeah,
with their mushroom.
Yeah,
head,
right.
Yes.
Yeah, right.
I recently had a mushroom trip, and it was very revealing in a way. Like it was directly related to what I'm studying.
Yeah.
And because of my desires, you know what I'm saying? And it was like, the universe answers those desires, right? You just, how intense, how much of a prayer are you putting into it,
it's your intention that affects the potency of your prayers, right?
Yeah. In Kabbalah, we believe that intention is everything.
Yeah. I like the word magic, and to me it just means crossing dimensions. But yeah, that's a good magical tool. Intent. The Toltecs, as they come through, Castaneda and his lineage have a lot to say about intent. I mean, everybody has it. Or Kahuna is also a good one for that.
I need to look up on that. I will warn you though. By the time we are, the lessons that I'm learning and everything, the understanding of intention has been whittled down to one thing.
Oh, okay. What's that?
I don't mean to scare you away, but
that's good.
This is what I'm saying. This should crack you up, seriously.
All right.
You're not going to completely understand what I'm saying. That's okay.
I'm ready.
Fear fear of God.
Intent boils down to fear of God.
No, not that, but my intention now
Oh.
is like,
Oh, your own intention is the fear of God.
not
I
the,
see. Oh.
but fear of God leaving me.
Okay. I see. Which
Oh,
is
and that is what drives your
self-suffering.
intention?
Meaning any time that I don't acknowledge that anything that I did from here forward was only through the grace of God. I didn't do it.
Yeah.
He did.
Yeah, you're saved.
It's hard
bro.
to do, man. It's really hard to do.
You're saved.
Yeah, and that is hard to remember.
Well, here's the thing. We need to save the world now.
Well, that's true.
So pray for peace.
No.
Today's a good day for I see a lot of people doing vigilance today, like candlelight vigilance on Twitch, and people have been just like being just very just kind of peace.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been hearing folks plugging in as well. Yeah, no, yep. Wild times.
Chris, we've taken a lot of your time.
Yeah, because I need to go back to work. Every time I disappear, there's something that I'm putting off till after we're done.
Oh, good Lord. Sorry, yeah. Didn't realize you're also having to be responsible. Thank you.
Oh, well,
see,
yeah. I mean, I'm lucky to
why
have a
don't-
job that I can do this with, and I don't even have to really hide it from my boss because it's how it works. But I do need to go to work, though.
Why don't we'll have Chris connect us and we can keep this conversation going.
Great. That'd be great.
All right. Yeah, I like that.
Wonderful.
All right. Well, yeah, great to see you, Chris. Great
You
to
too.
see you as always.
Okay, thanks for joining us. This has been a fun show,
really.
a story of two very different halves.
Oh, amen. Okay,
Yeah. First guest was awesome. I forgot his name, but he was great. Thanks for having me.
Farron, he's my friend.
Awesome.
Cool guy.
I learned a lot from him.
Yeah, he knows his
Yeah,
shit, man.
yeah,
There
he's
aren't very
fun.
many people who know tons of psychedelics that I've never even heard of, but
I've never even, I was like, what?
yeah.
I didn't even know that was possible.
Yeah, no
Yeah,
shit.
interesting drug. Yeah, I'm gonna go buy some, I think.
Yeah, I've got some, but I haven't tried it yet.
Okay.
Okay, I think
Cool.
we are going to call it good. Thanks to everybody watching, and we
Thanks, everyone.
we will see you later. Maybe next week on Tuesday, or we'll see. But I'll try to announce it at least a day beforehand.